So in my mind, I'm wondering, how will I do it? Because these interviews were at the same time. I was going for this manager's interview the same time that I'm supposed to be going for this other interview. And that was a job. This is still a long process. I don't even know whether I will get it. So I am torn between going for this in a manager session, which I still have 2 more levels for me to even know that I have the job, or I go for this other interview where it's only one. It's only this one level and I will be able to know whether I have the job or not. What will you have done, guys? Now Tanzania, 15%. Then Kenya and Ghana are following 15%. Hello and welcome. My name is Duncan Robert, and this is our educative platform where I endeavor to inform you, to educate you, and to empower you through knowledge on economics, finance, and accounting. I consume a lot of information which I try to break it down into simpler, understandable manner that you can consume it and take advantage of it and use it in your day-to-day lives. Now, this segment today, in this episode, I started a journey on taking you through my journey as a career person in finance and accounting. And today I am just picking up from where I left. So if you're joining us for the first time, please, towards the end of this video, you'll see the first episode. You can just click on it and then you can have an understanding of how this episode is progressing. So I had told you how at this particular point in time, I have gotten a call from KPMG, an email, that I have qualified for the first session interviews. Now, you can imagine the amount of excitement in my face. I was so elated, I was so excited. And the first thing that I did, of course, was to call my friends and to call some of my family members just to tell them that. You can imagine, I am this excited and I have not even read that email clearly to know exactly what I'm being called for. But like I said, when you first get this call as a graduate and you first get this call from a company, and not only just a normal company, a renowned company, to ask you to come for an interview, you get excited. Everything in you starts warming up. Yeah, you just start feeling proud of yourself that, wow, they have found me worthy of a call. There must be something special about me. And mark you, this is not a job offer yet. This is an interview. So I start preparing myself in preparation. I don't know. I've never gone for an interview. I don't know exactly what they're going to ask me. And in this case now, I just start looking at myself. What do I have? Do I even have the clothes? Okay, I'm a student. I don't even have a suit here. I don't have the nice shirts that I can present myself. But of course, I knew that if I reach out to my parents, of course, and I let them know and I tell them that I'm going for an interview, they will definitely be able to come through for me in terms of giving me a few coins so that I can get a good cloth, a good shirt, a good trouser. So I start preparing. And the day comes, we go to, if anyone has gone through that process, you know, back then, I don't know about now, but back then they will call you at KICC. That is how many people were applying. If you've been to KICC, you know that ground floor, how big it is. Now imagine people going there for interviews. I didn't know how significant the number was until I arrived at KICC. The first thing that hit me was at the entrance, I see so many people, and in my mind, it doesn't register that actually these people have actually come for the same interview that you've come for. I only later realized that these are my fellow interviewees. And then I start wondering, okay, what nature of interview is this that people are coming in thousands? Yeah. But anyway, I was called, so I just keep the faith and I start, everyone is talking outside KICC. We have all come smartly dressed because we didn't know what we were expecting. And people are, you can always see, you remember those days when you're in school before exams and then you see the smart students, they conglomerate at a certain corner. So they are revising, they're just testing each other's knowledge on specific questions. If you're not that bright back then, you cannot join them because there's nothing you're going to tell them. So I could see that behavior, the 844 system of segregation, of the bright students segregating the average students. Yeah, I could see those things even at KICC as we were going in. You could see some 2, 3, 4, 5 people congregating and just, I think they were trying to get a cheat code of how to get through that interview. But eventually I realized that it's not really an interview. It's something called an aptitude test. So they test your logical reasoning. So they try to get to know whether you are a logical thinker. So they will test your mathematical abilities. They will test your logical abilities. They will also test your language skills or abilities. Yeah, they're just trying to test whether you're someone who can think in a bigger picture kind of perspective, whether you can bring different cases and make sense out of it. You understand? Because that's all that probably auditors do. You're picking information from one place to another and you bring them together and you can have to make an informed, a kind of informed conclusion. It was not your typical interview. So I will now understand why guys will be trying to revise out there, just trying to test each other's knowledge. But I was green as nothing else. So I just went in, I just trusted my abilities, and we went in. I sat in that hall and I am seeing thousands of people. And we have already been told they're only looking for not more than 100 people. And we are in thousands. And I was later informed this is not even the only session. There are other people who are coming at 11. Other people are coming at 3 o'clock. Other people are coming at the next day. So guys, the odds are very few. The odds are just not to your advantage. But you just trust the process. So we went through that aptitude test and we were done and we went home. And these companies are very efficient. I give it to them. They're very efficient. Within another 2-3 days, we were called again. I got an email again. I was called back for another session. And the next session is where you sit in a group, pre-selected group of like 5, 6, 7, and then there are guys surrounding you and they're watching how you are basically having a discussion on a specific topic. Or they'll give you a case study and then you sit there and you start discussing this case study. And then they'll be picking out your abilities. They will look at how you're discussing the points, your confidence, your thinking, and then they'll just be marking how you're performing. And then they'll select a few out of the people who will be in that group. So this was my favorite. I'll be very honest. I've always been good in group situations. Yeah, I will stand out. I'm not bragging. I'm not really bragging, but I always find a way of standing out when I am in a group kind of situation, especially when it comes to discussions, because I'm a natural debater. Yeah. So I knew that once I go to a group discussion kind of scenario, number one, I am loud. Yeah, so I am loud, and if you can just be audible in such situations, you need to be audible. You need to just put out your points clearly, yeah, and someone will see that you know what you're talking about, even if you're not making sense. So I knew I will make through that level, and of course, I made it through. And I thank God for that. Now, what happened is after we were done with that, the next level again. I'm telling you, these interviews, the next level again. This is now your face-to-face interview where you have a panel of managers that you're sitting there and then you have to defend yourself or you tell them what you're made of. Yeah. Now, just as I was about to go for this manager's interview, I received a call. You remember I had done, I had been referred to in Deloitte. I get a call that I need to go for an interview on the same day to Deloitte and Tush, Deloitte East Africa. So in my mind, I'm wondering, how will I do it? Because these interviews were at the same time. I was going for this manager's interview the same time that I'm supposed to be going for this other interview. And that was a job. This is still a long process. I don't even know whether I will get it. So I am torn between going for this in a manager session, which I still have 2 more levels for me to even know that I have the job, or I go for this other interview where it's only one. It's only this one level and I will be able to know whether I have the job or not. What will you have done, guys? How do you decide? 2 very good companies calling you for a job, for an interview opportunity. One has only 1 level. The other one has 3 more levels to go. Where do you go to? Yeah. And I had not, I was still, my mind, my head was still I was still a student in my head. I still don't know how to manage some of these things. Excitement is killing me. I don't even know where to start. Yeah. So in my mind, I'm even thinking, if I call them and I tell them to reschedule, they'll think that I'm not a serious student, or I'm not a serious graduate, or I'm not a serious candidate. So I am even afraid to call them, tell them to reschedule. Because in my mind as a student, I didn't know those things are possible. Yeah. And I don't want to mess up anything. Yeah. So I call some of my senior friends who have been in the process, and I tell them, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And they encourage me. They tell me, those are just human beings. Just explain yourself that you might not be able to make it for that. They reschedule you. They will be able to do that. And I got the confidence. So I decided to reschedule the KPMG one. I wanted to go for this Deloitte interview first. I finish up with it, then I come back for this KPMG. And they accepted. And thank you so much for companies that understand. I thank God for you. So they rescheduled. So I go for this. I wake up very early in the morning. I was wearing a blue. I always love blue shirts. Blue shirts are good for corporate. They are corporate colors. Corporate colors. It was a blue shirt with a black suit. Yeah, with a black coat. Yeah. So I get into Deloitte and I step into the entrance, and first of all, I see this company. I always see the company from by the roadside as I am passing through, going home or somewhere along the highway. And the colors, first of all, I like white and black or white and blue. The combination looks nice. So I've always seen that building. It's a unique building along Waiyaki Way. And so I desire to go and work. And I remember there was a time I was passing there with my parents, and I told them, one day I'll work for this company. I didn't know that I was just calling on God's blessing at that particular point in time. But now was the time I'm coming in for an interview. So I step in and I look at those colors. I see the building. I'm impressed. I'm definitely interested. I step into the reception, and I'll never forget this. And there's something about how first impressions matter. First impressions do matter. I step into the entrance, and there's a lady there, and she later became my friend, of course, by the name Njeri. I don't want to call the full names, but she knows. I enter into the reception, and then I meet Njeri, the receptionist. Yeah? And Njeri is smiling from Cairo to Johannesburg, from Nairobi to Lagos. Yeah? She's smiling and very welcoming and warm. And my first impression was, wow, I feel at home. And she's asking, she knew me even before. She was like, Duncan, welcome. So I'm wondering, how did she even know that I'm Duncan? Number two, how did she even know that I'm coming for an interview? Now, guys, if you don't know what professionalism looks like, when people are well prepared and have planned their things out, they even know that you are coming in for an interview at 10, and it is communicated from the top all the way to the person at the gate. So they know. And it is also, of course, even better for security purposes, so that not everyone who steps into the office, not every stranger can just walk into the office. So she knew who I was, and she called me by my name, and she welcomed me in. And she told me, sit in that room. I will call you when the interviewers are ready. So that for me was quite an impression. And I hope that so many other companies can learn on those levels of professionalism. So I sit back, I wait, and in my mind I'm just, the office is clean, the carpets are clean. I'm coming from university. I'm not used to these clean environments. In fact, we are used to walking into class with shoes that has mud. Yeah. Because in the university, of course, the classes, they don't have carpets like this one. So I walk in and it's carpeted everywhere. Just some nice slow music playing in the background. Very nice seats. I'm just seated there waiting. And for some reason, I felt very confident and I felt quite at home in that space. So I'm called into the interview, and the first thing that I meet, of course, is a panel of managers. And my managers are all smiling. I don't know about my experience, I don't know whether that is what was happening in that company. Everyone was just smiling. So I get in, and I find 3 managers waiting for me, and they all look happy. They were just smiling. And when normally what I do, I match up the energy. I know how to match up energy. If I get a good kind of energy in a place, I'll just immediately just match it up. So I think I matched up the energy and the conversation. It was almost like a conversation. We were just having a conversation, and it's my first time. And I enjoyed the interview, and within a short time it was over, and I walked out, immediately started rushing back to the other company, KPMG. And as I was seated in the car just going to KPMG, in my mind I was like, I think I've gotten that job. Now, remember, I am an accountant, or I have a degree in economics. I have not even graduated. So I'm going to graduate in the bachelor's in economics, and I've done accounting. But this interview wasn't about anything to do with that. This interview was about human resources. It was an opportunity. But when you're looking for a job, you don't discriminate. So that's a lesson to people out here. I knew it was a HR position, but either way, it's about increasing your odds. Yeah. So I went in, and at an entry level, they wouldn't ask you really technical questions about what you're going to, in any case, you're going to be trained. So the questions, they just wanted to know me and to know my thinking, my level of confidence, what I've done in school, who I am, and all that. And of course, that gave them some level of confidence. So I almost had a confidence that I had gotten the job, even as I was walking out, going back to the other interview. And I always know that things have gone well, and I think I've gotten this job. So it catapulted my confidence and my belief in myself to now go back to KPMG and to continue with the process. So I get to KPMG. KPMG is located around, what is this building? It's been a while, so I've forgotten the name of the building. But they are all on the same highway. So I head back to KPMG, and then KPMG is not isolated. It's not an isolated building for the company itself. So it's one building that has several other companies in. So I go in, and I get into the lift, and of course, again, I get into the lift. I meet some of the other people also who are coming for the interviews, and others look nervous. Some are excited, and we get into the lift, and I'm liking everything. In fact, the environment also just looks great. Professional companies are really impressive, and they are great places to work. I can testify. So I get into that elevator. We go all the way up, and I walk into KPMG. Remember, my favorite color is also blue, black, and white. So I get into KPMG, and it's all blue. Yeah, just looking awesome. Of course, I'm looking at everything. The blue was attractive. Yeah, it caught my eyes as well. It just caught my eyes. And I walk in. Of course, they receive you. This time round, of course, they didn't call me by my name because we were many. Remember, the other interview I was alone, so it was easier for them to know who I was as I was coming in. But for this one, we are still at the lower level of the process. So we were many of us. We were full at the reception. Others were standing. Others were sitting. But all in all, the experience, how they handled us, it was well done. So I get into the interview, and I get again 3 managers, and we sat through the process. This one was a bit tougher, I must attest. This one was a bit tougher. They were asking me, they almost went into a bit of a technical aspect, which I was not very well conversant with. But the little accounting that I had learned in school enabled me to just speak out, give out. Remember, I am coming from a different interview that has already given me confidence. So I spoke my heart out, and I went home. I was not so sure about this interview. I'll be very honest. I knew it had gone well, but the technical aspect of it challenged me slightly. So I was not as confident with this as I was with the other. But at least the day had come to an end, and I walked home. I just went home straight and sat in my bed, and then I started thinking, how could I have done? Have I gotten the job? Are they going to call me? I'm now thinking it is the longest period after interviews when you're now waiting for a call, you don't know how you've performed. And I was hoping these are the kind of companies that will give you feedback. I was just hoping they are not going to let me wallow in my thoughts and never get any feedback on how I performed. So I was just telling myself, even if I haven't gotten the job, please just send me an email and you tell me that I was not able to qualify. So that, my brothers and sisters, is how I went through that first process. Stick around. It's a long journey. It's a long journey. This is just the second episode of so many others to come. When you come back next time, I am going to take you through how the results of these 2 interviews went and how I managed to maneuver through the tough stage, the next stage that came, and how I managed to deal with my dilemmas and eventually where I settled. If you are coming here for the first time, please, I ask you to subscribe to this channel. I ask you to like, I ask you to comment, I ask you to ask questions if you have, and I would love that you continue watching my content. And my YouTube channel does not only have stories. This is just one of the segments of what I do. I am a public educator. I call myself that. I educate the public on things I think they need to know. And one of the things, I'm a passionate researcher, so I research guys on matters finance, on matters accounting, and on matters economics. So stick around and you can watch all those other videos and you will get educated. I am certain about that. And in case you don't get educated, please tell me what you need to watch, what I need to give you, and I'll be able to deliver. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to take you through my next session in my journey as a career person in finance and accounting. Thank you.